Agreed. And now, whoa, bloody
Oh,
face. Okay, we stabilized the camera. It was a little shaky, like some of the play we saw throughout the season, but we're here, and we're gonna start things off with Demon Hunter versus that priest. As every time I see Saiyan with blonde hair, it just reminds me of such simpler times when he was at the World Championship. Now it's like fully black hair. He's reverted. Turns out Saiyan was very much like Gohan, hitting his perfect, powerful form, where he was supposed to be the chosen one, and instead chose a life of money and stability and fulfillment with his longtime girlfriend and emotional development. Like, who values that? Come on. No, you got.
I don't know, Dan. Seems pretty ridiculous to me.
I know. Imagine not spending every waking moment training day and night. But enough about anime. Bloody Face having the Wandmaker and the Twilight Drake is very nice. Twilight Drake is a very annoying card for Demon Hunter to have to deal with because they don't want to have to sink damage into it, and they don't want to have to blade dance a single target. So I do find that whenever I see Priest play big meaty minions like that as Demon Hunter, it is annoying. Saiyan has okay hand. He can coin out the Mana Feeder Panthera next turn with the hero power and follow that into a Marrow Slicer and just have a nice 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep. So the beginning parts of this matchup are
Tempo.
may not seem important, but like the resources that you use in order to take early control of the board and fight for tempo early can matter. Because what this is a lot about if the Demon Hunter can stick meaningful damage in the mid game. If that happens, the priest has to find this dance of taking control of the board and actively trying to get targets for Apotheosis to bounce them back up in health, while also worrying about the damage from hand. So it's imperative that the priest player takes control of the board at some point in the early game so they don't fall into this trap in the mid game. Twilight Drake is, like you mentioned, a very important card to do that because it often means that either the Demon Hunter has to ignore it and leave an Apotheosis target up, which they will eventually have to deal with, or killing it, which is usually more wise, but a lot of times it's much resources sunk into it, and that gives the priest initiative once again. So it's kind of this dance that goes on for a very long time where the Demon Hunter is trying to push damage while eliminating every possible Apotheosis target, while the priest is doing the opposite. They're trying to stop the Demon Hunter from pushing damage while they're trying to stick an Apotheosis target. And that's kind of where the swing point matters. So every resource used in this early game to try and fight for the board state is crucial in that regard of, well, would this have been useful in the mid game? Would this have helped me solidify a minion? So now's the first test for Saiyan. Can he deal with this Twilight Drake? The answer is yes, but what does he want to do to get rid of it? How many resources does he feel comfortable spending or to get rid of it?
Yeah, and I think that he's been taking his time getting set up and taking it slow. I kind of anticipated using the coin to get an extra card because a lot of times I guess I feel like I want to have access to that card, but Saiyan wants to keep his options flexible even at the cost of that one card. Wow, no trades, not even on the Wandmaker because he knows that Bloody Face probably wants to do the trades for him. And then he can use cards like the Shattered Sun Mystic to clean it up in case he buffs the cards. This is nice from Saiyan.
Yeah, the problem is exactly what I mentioned. You don't deal with the Twilight Drake, you're going to eventually have to deal with it anyway. So you might as well deal with it while it has the lowest amount of health. because now Bloodyface can Apotheosis this, and then it's a 10 health Twilight Drake with Lifesteal. And while Saiyan does have a natural copy of Consume Magic in his deck, it is currently not in his hand as a one of.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely...
Oh my, whoa! Oh, I thought that was Consume Magic. It was golden and pink. I thought for a second it was Consume Magic. I was about to call the series done right there.
This is still good to have, though. You can still play the...
I grow impatient.
A Lapidary and clear off the Twilight Drake. With just the hero power? Oh, geez, yeah. That's pretty expensive. Is there a better way to do this? Maybe you can trade in the Mana Feeder Panthera, then play the Mystic and hero power. But then that would float a Mana Crystal. So I guess Saiyan ends up going for this play.
I just don't think you really want to get too fancy with it, right?
Right.
But, you know, that was a lot of damage from Saiyan. The damage that he sunk face the previous turn, and now the damage that he sunk in the Twilight Drake this turn. All of it was essentially for nothing because Bloodyface is still at 30. I
wonder.
So those are the kinds of the turns the previous turn where Saiyan decided to ignore the Twilight Drake and go face. Like, as rough as that seems, the times that I've watched Demon Hunters dismantle priests and win is when they keep the board in check and continue to chip away.
I wonder.
And you ignore it one turn, and then all of a sudden you just wasted, 15 points of damage instead of 7 damage, which is what he would have used to kill the Twilight Drake initially.
Well,
okay, the Marl Slicer.
Yeah, still no Blade Dance to easily deal with the board, but he could clear everything.
Demons.
So he could, for example, play the Shard Shatter Mystic, play Soul Shear, clear off the board, and then even Hero Power face, keep that 5/2. Another alternative be to set up another weapon of some sort, clear out the Twilight Drake, and trade and keep your board alive. Either way, Saiyan's okay. I like setting up weapons, though, because it does tend to lead itself to really powerful swings if you end up drawing either like Blade Dance they've developed, or if you play like just a Glaive Bound Adept off the top, for example. Ooh, there's the Blade Dance.
Yeah, so he should feel a lot more comfortable now.
Face. Yeah.
And he's seen Apotheosis, so... I'm still worried about going face, though. Because... like, it wasn't that expensive to put that damage into the Twilight Drake. Again. Like, he got punished for it the first time, and now he's doing it again. There's no punish for it this time, but I at least he's being consistent. At least his game plan is consistent. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it's overall he just believes in the constant pressure and building up the board as best he can. But yeah, Bloodyface has the disarm, and Saiyan has.
So a lot of damage. 9, 11, 12,
no.
13. One off?
Just barely off. Well counted by Bloodyface. However, you know, that's why Saiyan has those backup plans for the Blade Dance. So the play
I
could
grow
be.
impatient.
I was thinking Soul Shard Mystic and then the Blade Dance. But I guess he is okay with this because whatever minion survives, he can just punch. Or rather, he can just ignore because it's not going to hit him for enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a lot of healing that Bloodyface has.
Yeah. Tons of
Looks like
healing. And I think that's probably the primary problem with that I have with these kinds of situations is it feels like you can do such a good job putting Priest at that limit, and then they're like, well, I have all this healing, so... But I think Saiyan feels confident that he should be able to clear this off. Or rather, he should be able to finish that damage with what he has in hand.
This Grave Rune is way too bold.
What is a
You don't need it.
Well, he wants to set up lethal, right? All right.
Wow.
He's just dead. Okay. I'm okay with being greedy for one turn, but
Is he dead?
he's dead. All right. Double Twin Slice Hero Power Glade. Oh, yeah, double Twin Slice Hero Power Glade bot. Oh, no, he's one off. You're right. You're absolutely right. He's one off. So I guess this isn't that greedy.
Yeah.
Actually,
again.
there isn't a combination of cards. Yeah, he's seen both Soul Shard Lapidaries, which I think is the big reason. No, this is a good play. Because having seen both Soul Shard Lapidaries, there's not a combination of cards outside of like this craziness that kills you from 10. It would have to be triple Twin Slice, Gladebound Adept. That's the only thing. And that
like
forced
this.
a
This has
completely
been a good
defensive turn
game.
for Bloodyface. Yeah, that was good. I like that a lot.
This is
on
has
second
been a
thought.
good
My
game on
apologies for
both
saying that was too
sides.
greedy.
No, all good. I appreciate this game because it feels like they've been doing a great job understanding the primary game plan. And Saiyan's been taking it it's not like out of this world for Demon Hunter, just kind of pressure, but like the kind of pace that he pushed at was more aggressive than even I like to go, and I tend to go face up very often. And I thought I was being overly aggressive in some matchups, and Saiyan's even more aggressive. By pushing all that damage all the time, and now he's gotten very close, but still needs to get past this taunt. Okay, 2 Spirit Jailers. So he's got Twin Slice, Hero Power, and he can Glaive Bound Adept afterwards. You can also just play the Spirit Jailer if you don't want to. You don't care about that last health. Which I don't think. And Bloodyface has Soul Mirror.
Yep.
And I think he survived.
I think you could start with the Renew. If you hit like Apotheosis, you're doing that with Wild Pyromancer instead. Forbidden Words let you not have to part ways with the Soul Mirror in case of Sociologist.
That's a good point.
So I think I want to do that.
Power Infusion.
That's the same thing, I guess. That both of those plays means you don't have to part ways. This leaves you with the board, so this is better. Because that Forbidden Words would have actually been pretty expensive. It would have left him with only 2 mana left just to heal, and left him with a 3/1 instead of, what is this, a 5/2 or 5/5? Excuse me.
Right.
Because he renewed
Much
the
stronger.
Yeah, because he renewed the minion instead of his face, which is a bold
Wow,
call
even
yet
healing the
again.
minion. Understanding the range of what Saiyan has. Saiyan had to get Skull Gul'dan, finds Pen Flinger.
The thing is, like, you know, with Soul Fragments being in the deck, with the possibility of healing from Eldrazi Warblades, Bloodyface is not close to ending this game. So I'm worried about trying to heal my minions that aggressively. When you still have multiple turns for your opponent to find ways to find additional damage. I guess the Holy Nova pickup changes things, but he didn't know about that at the original time of the renew. Yeah, Saiyan needs skull right now.
Really impressive from Bloodyface so far. Not entirely out of the woods just yet. Saiyan can still draw Skull of Gul'dan. Wandmaker can't really give him anything.
Double jump!
Oh my gosh! Oh boy.
Alas, poor warlock.
Oh wow. Oh my goodness.
Alas, poor warlock.
What a swing. And now Saiyan has 8 damage from the hand.
Yep.
Came down to a resource battle, and that Wandmaker double jump Skull of Gul'dan. I was thinking about like philosophy, thinking about like Twin Slice, Mana
I was
Burn,
thinking consume magic, draw into it, or something like that.
And I just forgot about double jump for a brief second.
Now, you know, Bloodyface is in trouble. He's just completely gassed. He's quite low health.
Your mind is not your own.
Just has to play a taunt, and that is game. Exactly 10.
Wow. What a game. And Saiyan's going to start things off 1-0. Demon Hunter finds a way. Oh, wow. So a hard-fought back and forth, and Bloodyface collapse. Oh, geez. Well, Demon Hunter is so good at pressuring those decks. And overall, like, you know, Saiyan's aggressive line paid off. You know, it was one of those games where I don't think I would have won. And not only would I not have won, if you told me you could have won this game, I'd been like, how? And so part of it was Saiyan being aggressive, and he got rewarded off the top of his deck because he needed to do that. And so, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I disagree with a lot of lines that both players took those games.
Interesting. What do you think? What do you think is the big macro perspective of what you disagree with?
So, from Bloodyface's perspective, and I could be wrong here. This is just from my experience, and also just from watching a lot of successful Demon Hunter players in Grandmasters. From Bloodyface's perspective, I feel like it's more about going resource for resource and getting incremental healing. Right? Bloodyface put a huge priority on board, and often forewent healing in order to solidify the board state. But he has nothing to capitalize on having the board with. He was never really that close to killing Just Saiyan, except for maybe the one turn that he went for Grave Rune. But Demon Hunter is usually just looking for an excuse to use their AoE tools. Even something like going for a renew on his own minion instead of his face, right? He loses 5/8 on board, but that 5/8's not doing anything. Because while it's contesting some minions, that's not what you're worried about. You're worried about the damage. He died with a Soul Mirror in his hand. So that should tell you, like, he put too much focus on the board, not enough focus on his own life total. From Saiyan's perspective, the only thing that I disagreed with was disrespecting the first Twilight Drake. Because he would have sunk 7 damage into the first Twilight Drake. And of course, we can be results-oriented, but you want to test for the first Apotheosis kind of in a way that doesn't punish you that hard. Because he ended up sinking, what, 16 damage into that Twilight Drake? Or 16 net damage in that Twilight Drake, all things said and done. Whereas if he had just sunk 7 into it to begin with, he could have run away with that game, and the Apotheosis would have been on a much smaller target that he could have swept up with AoE instead. So for the most part, I do agree with how Saiyan played it. Way more than I agree with how bloodyface played it. But like there was just that one spot for Saiyan, and then multiple spots for bloodyface. I think that you really need to respect your life total a lot more. And when you have the answers available to you, don't focus too much on board and killing the Demon Hunter, because it's so hard to kill them with Soul Fragments and Adraki Warblades. Unless you have something in hand to capitalize on sticking a board, like an Apotheosis or a consistent way to find Apotheosis, incremental heal, right? That's how you'll win that matchup. So, but moving on, I've played a lot of Demon Hunter, and that's just from my experience. I could be wrong. People can correct me, but from the outside looking in, that may have looked like a very clean game from both sides. That was very close, but I think that there was more to it.
Fair enough. Now we go into a Mage Mirror. And, you talk about the wide range of possibilities. Anything could happen here. Bloodyface absolutely popping off on Saiyan.
Oh my gosh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spells?
Wow.
What do you even do? There's more. But wait. There's more. But wait.
Oh my
There's
gosh,
a little more. But wait.
Wait.
There's more.
So he's how much?
What the hell just happened?
Are his Spirit Drives like 3 now? What? I want to go back to the last matchup.
What was that? Just play a dozen cards.
What the heck?
3 mana.
Saiyan just gets an Arcane Explosion and a Mirror Image, and he's like, all right, I feel pretty good about that one.
I mean, that's still good enough. Bloodyface has nothing on the board to show for his previous turn, but got a lot of cards.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he draws a Mana Giant, you'll know why that turn was so impactful, because I'm pretty sure his Mana Giant costs 2 now. Possibly even less, and it's gonna, by the time he draws it now, it's gonna be even less than that, because all of these cards in his hand are not cards that started in his deck, so that's pretty insane. It's just he needs to make sure his tempo doesn't stall it completely, because Saiyan does have some well, at least he has Jandis, right, to be able to get onto this board quite quickly.
What to do?
Man, that was just... I'm still reeling from that turn 3. Bloodyface with a very passive turn 4, because he doesn't really have many other good proactive plays. Saiyan finds Wormweaver. What?
Nice.
What insane tempo possibilities by summoning the Mana Worm. That's a very problematic card in this matchup.
So you look at that turn
yeah.
from Bloodyface, and you think like, oh my gosh, how does Saiyan ever win against that type of hand? But you can win through tempo. It's just very difficult, especially when one of the cards they randomly generated was Polymorph to shut down this Worm Reaver. That's brutal. Still some power left on board, though. Ugh. I guess we're playing an 8/8.
Mana Giant. 6 mana 8 is still entirely reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
But Saiyan, make no mistake, even though Saiyan's ahead, the moment Bloodyface is able to stabilize... Sorry, if he's able to stabilize, Bloodyface has all the resources to squeeze him out of the game here. So Arcane
Brain Freeze
Explosion
is just good.
Yeah, so Cobalt Geomancer, Arcane Explosion, kills off the Amber Watcher.
Another
Brain Freeze. So that clears off almost the entire board. Oh, wait, no,
Yeah,
it will kill off the entire board.
He just doesn't have mana for it this turn because he can only play the one Brain Freeze, and that's assuming that the Worm Reaver was not the illusion. But I'm quite certain it wasn't. Oh, okay. Actually, just going for the kill on the Mana Giant now. This makes sense. The player in Conjure's Calling. I like this. You're so far ahead, at least on resources, that just eliminate the maximum amount of resources that you can from your opponent. All right, Cram Session.
Though?
3 cards. Another Cram Session.
What? Oh my goodness. Bloodyface is loving it. Okay.
Bloodyface is gonna lose.
I mean, Saiyan's gonna have drawn both of the Mana Giants, and Bloodyface will not, and that tends to be leaning one way.
What to do? What to do?
I mean, he does have Deep Freeze, which can sometimes get him back on board. And once he draws his own Mana Giants, he also has Conjure's Calling to follow up on that. Just how deep in the deck are those?
What to do? What to do?
I think like Devolving Missiles and try and clean up the board with Arcane Explosion. I guess he's trying to guarantee the Devolving Missiles be on the Solarian Prime. It does make a lot of sense. Diffuse the board pretty well.
The ability for Saiyan to do that.
Someday I'll be just like you.
All right, here we go. Another Sorcerer's Apprentice. Font of Power. Chenvala. There's another Firebrand.
Yeah, this could be a Mana Giant Conjure's Calling with the Sorcerer Apprentice.
Oh my!
So there is a payoff to it. It's a stick this. Conjure's Calling. Another Mana Giant.
Another Mana Giant came out.
Whew.
You don't pick the ones.
You gotta find a way to deal with this board. Looks like it's Blizzard and pass.
Yeah, I mean, he's got follow-up. He's got Deep Freeze. He's got Brain Freeze. You know, this is very likely to get Conjure's Calling again, but this is the last Mana Giant. Oh, no! Now he gets another Arcane Missiles. He gets to double up. I was thinking, like, how does fellow Betrick punish him? Like, Ashman Solarian? But Violet Spellwing is actually pretty funny, too.
Zeraku!
Oh,
King his own face.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no. And, I mean, this is just, this is just too much. I don't feel... I don't feel like Bloodyface can come back. He had some of the most insane start to a Mage Mirror game we've seen, and yet, despite that, not actually drawing anything of substance.
Yeah, no
follow-up. A bunch
follow-up.
of cool spells. And now is just getting copies of cards he doesn't need here.
He can Brain Freeze and then draw with Icicle.
Okay. that's it. Bloodyface concedes, Saiyan up 2-0. And the Mage Mirror ends up going Saiyan's way. 1 game away from staying in Grandmasters for another season. But man, is it not easy right now. Like, the swings back and forth are just so massive, and it feels like Saiyan did such a good job locking in and ensuring that he'd be able to be in a good spot. Yeah. But man, that was a situation where I thought Bloodyface was going to win.
Yeah. You know, when you go for those big pop-offs, you are using a lot of resources on like small boards, right? So if you don't find Mana Giant, be able to capitalize on that many spells played. If you don't find like Shinvala or super proactive randomly generated spells, that it's going to happen sometimes. And you know, that's why the Mage Mirror is so volatile. And crazy to watch, but time to move on to the next game. Saying Secret Rogue, last deck left remaining for him. See if he can pick up a win.
Yeah, Secret Rogue just needs to get over the hump one time, and everything will be good to go from there. As right now you can take a look and just kind of see that Saiyan's deck list is pretty straightforward. Not too much fancy stuff. A lot of lean.
This ends
a lot of lean deck lists coming out from Saiyan this season in general, which I always appreciate. Pretty good opening hand as well. Pharaoh Cat, Questing Adventure, Evil Miscreant, Dragon's Horde. That looks really nice.
Yeah, it seems like everybody this week has been playing the Underbelly Fence variation instead of the Colton Neophyte variation that we saw be quite popular in previous weeks, previous iterations of the Secret Rogue. Gives you more tempo options, more immediate tempo. I guess because less priests, less druids means that you don't necessarily need to have these spell disruption turns. I still like the Cold Neophyte. I wish there was a way to fit in both, but I just don't think there is. It's hard to find cards to cut because the deck does seem like a pretty well-oiled machine in its current form. But Bloodyface has a decent start as well. 1-drop into, I mean, Mana Feeder Panther is not like a true 2-drop. So usually comes out on turn 3 against any matchup that's not like super revolving around early game tempo. And he's got that into Marl Slicer. Consume Magic is feels like it's always nice to have against Rogue because it's a 1-card way to deal with Questing Adventure, Edwin Van Cleave, not get blown out of a game. So, you know, even though it's probably not the highest mulligan win rate, it always is kind of that, like, feels comfortable to have it in the hand against Rogue.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Rogue in particular just really wants to have a bunch of opportunities to continue to smooth out their power curve. You think about like what this class is trying to do ultimately, many times it's really just ensuring that every single turn they're starting to threaten their opponents. And the first couple turns are about gathering resources to make sure that you can do that. So Saiyan picks up the Secret Passage, doesn't really have use for that at the moment. If he had an activator for Underbelly Fence and Vendetta, he'd have a really good turn right now, but instead is just going to use the Witchy Lackey. What on earth? Is that even good to activate, though? Like, Bloodyface is kind of like chuckling himself, but if Saiyan plays, if he plays the Blackjack Stunner, that's still a pretty good effect.
Oh, yeah, then he can Goblin
Lock. And then he can rush.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Cool little way to deal with the board. Soul Fragments, Bloodyface doesn't want to see those. At least not this early, especially with Sociologist in hand. But it does have a lot of ways to keep shuffling these Soul Fragments back into his deck. Soul Shear, Marrow Slicer. It looks like the game plan for Bloodyface is going to be just control the state of the board and then, you know, have Sociologist Militia hit the board with as many Soul Fragments as possible. And then follow that up with just direct damage to face.
Yeah, not really much for bloodyface to worry about right now. Just a couple of 1-2s. In the end, Rogue Saiyan's actually not super good. Saiyan's just being annoying.
I mean, it's kind of what Rogue does.
I didn't know of any other word to say yet, TJ. Like, Rogue's just being a pain in the butt. There's like, they're not actually like doing anything meaningful. They dealt 2 damage to you. They have 1-2s on the board. Like, this is not imposing at all. But it is very annoying still. And now they're even being more frustrating because they played Plagiarize, and now they actually have damage.
Ooh, another Wand Thief. Yeah, he still keeps activations in hand for Underbelly Fence as well as Vendetta. Ancient Mysteries is interesting. Blizzard gives him a way to deal with Militia.
Flame Ward is a way to deal with Socios Militia. Okay. Blizzard does that as well, but I think Flame Ward is better at it.
Yeah.
Not to mention the mind games that enter the fray when you start playing secrets that are randomly generated. Saiyan debating if he wants to swing as up holding. I guess from Bloodyface's perspective, he wants to set up that Sociologist Militia. I guess you can just Penflinger and clean up the board. So Penflinger, Soul Shard, Penflinger, Twin Slice, Hero Power?
Yeah. As long as you fit in that Soul Shear somewhere in there, I'm good with any of these plays. Just to maximize opportunity to get all these Soul Fragments to rush next turn. Because it seems like that's what Bloodyface's entire early game plan has hinged off of. He just had a bunch of ways to shuffle on Soul Fragments and Sociologist Militia, and something to get towards it. Also lets him push a significant amount of damage. And now, what can Saiyan do this turn to be annoying?
Many things. You don't need a double secret. I think that's a little bit excessive. You want a secret in response to it. Secret Passage is also okay. I kind of like the idea of Dragon Sword because if you do find a playable legendary at 5, there's a lot that you could find that could be pretty useful just to gain tempo. Like, the problem with Secret Passage is that you don't guarantee to have a clean turn to utilize all your cards that you draw. At the same time, Secret Passage isn't particularly powerful when you start hitting a certain mana cost. Before, with that 5th card drawn, it felt pretty consistent to spend like almost all 10 mana. Now it's like you draw 4 cards, you feel like you might be able to spend some of them. Or all, yeah. At this point, Saiyan goes for it.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yikes. Okay, well the good news is we spent almost all of our mana.
Wait, what is...
Woo!
Hello?
This,
The Shadow... the Shadow Step Shadow Drill Hanar? 0 mana Shadow Drill Hanar with 2 secrets on the other side?
Sam played so fast it like semi-broke the Observer client.
Yeah.
Looks like we have a bigger traffic jam there than the line for COVID testing.
I can still hear the rope burning. This is jarring. It's like
that kind of turn. That kind of turn ends up being really nice because he has the secrets ready to go after he played the Hanar.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is kind of like what we're talking about, which is like he got Secret Passage, not really like a super impactful turn that he was looking for. So It was okay, and I think as long as the secret passage didn't like completely whiff, like draw, 0 mana cards across the board for him to do nothing, he was okay.
Yeah.
Plus, I think there was Jandis that he was maybe thinking about. So if you drew Jandis, he'd be able to play tempo, and would have been in a pretty good spot had he been able to do that or Questing Adventurer.
Yeah, and getting that Shadow Jewel Hanar like out of his deck and being able to pull it back and cause 0 is a big deal because secrets are one of the best ways for the rogue the random secrets are the best ways for the rogue to combat Demon Hunter. You can get Ice Barrier, great. Misdirection, great, because a lot of times they're making these big attacks into your face, and a lot of times having to test for the possibility of misdirection for a turn without expending a lot of their damage resources, which means they're dealing less damage to you, usually for a turn. So a lot of cool things that can happen in that, and because of the Shadow Jewel Hanar. And
Very
it looks like we got to that point.
Wait, what? Saiyan didn't play Flame Ward? Oh, he did play Flame Ward.
He did play Flame Ward, yeah.
Okay. I misread it. I thought the secret in his hand was still Flame Ward, but it is indeed vaporized. But that's not going to stop Bloodyface. Kind of counter for that possibility. Go for some big action. You can hero power. Play that Pen Flinger. I guess he is slightly concerned about the possibility of plagiarize.
Time grows short.
Yeah.
Is.
I mean, the Soul Fragments could be a big deal. Look at the deck tracker. There's 54 cards in Bloodyface's deck.
Give me a quest.
What just happened?
What?
And there's 34
What card game am I
decks.
playing? 60 cards? What, we have 4 copies of a card?
Oh, man.
How much is this worth to you?
I was like, I wonder what the chances are that he draws a Soul Fragment now that he's played, Marrow Slicer plus a Spirit Jailer. Oh. 2 and 34. All right.
So I think what ended up happening was it reloaded, and therefore it counted both decks into one. So Saiyan is the culmination of him and Bloodyface's deck, and then Bloodyface has added his deck on top of Saiyan's deck. And that's how we have a combined 54 cards in the deck. That's hilarious.
All right, well.
Big turn from Saiyan.
He finds a Soul Fragment. And he's pushing
4,
damage.
7, 9, 10, 11, though. It's game over. Pen
Yes, it is.
Flinger, TJ.
He's about to get flinged.
Behind yourself.
Get flung.
I will still fight.
Yep.
All right,
Say,
going to game 4.
all right, a crazy game, but when you have those turns where you're not really developing anything meaningful, like the 3, 4, 5 turns from Saiyan, it's hard when you give the Demon Hunter that much time to actually find a meaningful comeback. Ended up being kind of closer at the end because he did set a 2-turn lethal from his perspective. If he manages to survive or finds one more Soul Fragment, but we could see there was a consume magic. There was other ways for Bloodyface to buy time. So ultimately, a pretty rough matchup for that rogue deck, and needed some, I guess, better secret outcomes, misdirection or Ice Barrier, like I'd mentioned. Kind of a fringe case scenario. Saiyan Soul is the rogue. Now Bloodyface turns to either Priest or Mage as his final 2 decks. Still like the rogue against both of those. I think it's close either way, though. No matter which way you slice it. The 3 decks are left are the 3 decks that tend to operate sometimes with more resources that are outside of their deck than resources that are inside of their deck, which means they're very hard to evaluate and often very swingy because of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and say all the matchups are pretty close, so Saiyan has a slight advantage because he has won one more game so far in the series in bloodyface. There you go. Analysis complete.
All right. Bloodyface probably going to be trying to play the mage next. Or it actually doesn't really matter here at this point because he has to beat the rogue 3 times. But we also saw the weakness of rogue, right? You know, we kind of talked a little bit about actually had a lot going on, and bloodyface just killed him. Yep. Priest has less of that ability, though, so I would say that even though you'd want to do something like that with Priest, it's a lot harder.
A lot harder. Not impossible. I'm running I'd say relatively standard version of what the control priest nowadays. Does run 2 natural Twilight Drakes, which not always inclusions in the deck. You know, sometimes you see like a Twilight Drake and a Madame Lazul, you know, some combination thereof, or maybe an extra Holy Smite and no Twilight Drakes, that kind of thing. All depends on what matchups you expect to face, but it's not super impactful either way, especially in this matchup. Madame Lazul lets you get like overgrowth against Druids, or Galakron in the mirror match, things like that, but not too big a deal. Overall, though, this comes down to you know, phase 1, which is tempo. If one player can wrestle super tempo over another and then, you know, solidify it, that's first way to win. Second way to win is if no player can really gain meaningful tempo in the matchup, then it comes down to a value game, which Rogue used to do pretty well on, but not so much anymore. Like, you think back to like Galakron or Highlander Rogue, they could gain a ton of value. This Rogue can do it, but it's more like bursts of value instead of like long-term permanent value. And so in those types of games, unless Rogue can at some point make a meaningful push, Priest will usually win in the long game in the modern Priest versus Rogue matchups. But again, could still go any way, and the threat of Questing Adventure, Edwin Van Cleef, Rogue always has that blowout potential, the opportunity to just kind of win a game super early on because they play one of those cards, support it with a lot of cheap stuff, and then win and dodge the answers from their opponents. So
taking a look one more time at Saiyan's deck list here. A lot of generation stuff. Needs to just improvise a win condition as he's able to draw them. On the other side, the control priest does tend to struggle against across the board, only because on ladder you look at a lot of the rogue deck lists and they just put out a ton of pressure. Not to mention that they have the ability to blackjack stunner anything that you do, like say drop Apotheosis on. So tempo does tend to be on Rogue's side, but bloodyface does have some tempo options himself. So let's find out what happens here.
Mindflayer Cars, Twilight Drake, I like those as early game options. Or just saying, Edward Van Cleef is in any stage of the game option. That one seems pretty good to me. Can he support it?
Yep.
He's Janus too. Janus always a good early game. He finds Dragon Horde and Prep and one and
yes.
There could be a really big Edwin Van Cleef.
TJ, I love when you talk dirty to me.
Don't tell anybody.
You don't take the walks.
Ooh, but we got a 2, 3, 4, 5 curve coming in for bloodyface.
I'm not a mathematician, but that sounds pretty good. Whoa.
Later.
That is an 8/8 Van Cleef on turn 2. He thought Mana Giants or Mountain Giants and all the other giants that come out turn 4 or 5 can be pretty intimidating. That being said, bloodyface does have a way to deal with it, but it's going to take a while, and just saying it's just going to punch him in the face. So bloodyface should be able to kill Van Cleef, but the question is, how much damage will Eddie be able to do here?
Yeah. And the thing about it, the things that Stan used to get this Edwin Van Cleef to be quite large is Dirty Trick. So if bloodyface manages to find a better way to deal with it than just minions, it will just give Saiyan cards. So, oh,
wow. Raz is solid just for a tempo option. Nephrodamus is particularly interesting given that it gives him something to do, but I think it's a little bit too late because he wants to play it before Soul Mirror and other things like that come up. Saiyan finds Magic Trick. Magic Trick can be used as an activator for the Evil Miscreant next turn. Looks good to me, and we go face. Not trading with that Edwin.
On wings of destruction they come.
Oh, finds a Shadow or Death. That's big. That is so big. You can see Saiyan's pretty devastated about it. Yeah, he draws 2 cards, but he wanted to get a lot more out of that win. And now we have ourselves a Hearthstone game.
Yep. Still, though, you know, he got those resources out of bloodyface. He was able to acquire a bunch of resources himself. But again, right, there's those 2 phases of the game, and Rogue really wants to just win in that first phase, which is just overwhelming tempo, overwhelming board presence. They don't necessarily want to have to fight a value for value matchup, because most of the time against Breach, you will just lose. They have so much generation, so many ways to like trade down a board state, and bloodyface has those.
Yeah, I did underbelly fence here. Backstab. Dagger is what I look at. There's also the possibility that he wants to just play Plagiarize, but I don't think Plagiarize is very strong right now. I want to set up the best possible reaction to whatever bloodyface can play, and also set up for the best possible turn 5 play, which is Jandis and Raz.
Yeah.
A simple spell.
Simple spell kit. Okay. Okay.
What makes something real?
Same with the immediate snap call. Finds 2 taunt minions, Scrap Golem and the Aldor Truth Seeker.
Both pretty well statted. And Scrap Golem also having the bonus of a little bit of life gain. bloodyface not too worried about these minions, though. Oh! Oh!
Holy cow.
Edwin Van Cleef!
That's right.
Oh, he's just gonna do it right back.
That's right. And he can
He
fully
can just
clear the
Radiance and
board.
Edwin.
Yeah, I think he's debating if he wants to kill off his board though to do it, because he has to trade. He has to lose his Pyromancer. He's going to be trading it in. 6/6 versus an 8/8.
What is Elun's will?
And if you trade this in, the Wild Pyromancer just dies to a dagger anyway.
The Brotherhood shall come.
Right.
So wouldn't
But
you
it
just
deals
rather
3
have an
damage.
8/8? Or a 10/10? It would have been a 10/10.
It's a 10/10, but it costs you a 3/1, so you actually are even on the stats. In terms of distribution is different.
Yeah, but the 3/1 dies guaranteed on board, whereas the extra stats on the 10/10 don't.
True,
It's
but
not
the 3/1 gets
guaranteed.
to deal 3 damage to face.
Yeah. Okay.
What if Radiant said, heal yourself for 5, heal your opponent for 3? Would you play it?
It would say, heal yourself for 5, heal your opponent for 3, and give your next minion played +2/+2.
Up to no good. Me too.
That's a very convoluted card. I'm a terrible deck builder. I honestly have no idea if I would play that card.
Sounds very complicated. Hogwoggle Scheme, Fan Knife, Sprint. All things that involve hand resources and a little bit of board impact. Fan Knife's too expensive. Cobalt Spellkin comes into the hand again. Bloodyface.
You don't pick the one.
Doesn't really have any playable one-mana spells in this spot. Finds 2 Holy Smites. Trade with the Edwin.
Oh no!
Okay.
Ah, whatever.
Why do we trade there, DJ?
Because he's gonna win the long game anyway, I suppose.
That is
He wants to
fair.
take value from it before Blackjack Stunner, Secret plus Blackjack Stunner come out. I don't know. I mean, there's reasons why. It's just... It never hurts any less. He didn't find Blackjack Stunner. Means
What
his
does
turn
Saint
was
even
pretty
do in
weak.
this spot? What does Rogue even do? They just play 1/1s. They like sap all your stuff.
Choose soon.
They draw a bunch of cards. They play a bunch of secrets, and then they just pass.
Yeah, but
And it's
sometimes
like, how
they're
do
playing
you
those
win?
1/1s, and then at the end, a 10/10 pops out.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they play a minion and then play a bunch of 1/1s, and at the end of the turn, that first minion that you played is a 10/10.
It's like Rogue does all this crazy stuff, and then you're like, all right, I play like a 3/5. Like, you got me. All right. Gotta give it to you. You really had me there.
All right, this Edwin better hit big. Okay, good. Feel like he should be at 11, but you know.
Well, Saiyan does have his own Twilight Drake now to play, and it's part of the downside of play drives. I think a lot of players look at play drives and get really excited about like, oh, wait, I can have my opponent's cards as well. That gives me just a ton of value. The problem is that you're just going to be behind. So if they play a big threat, you get that threat too, but they get to choose the attacks. Or even worse, they get to kill you because you're rogue and you didn't play anything except one attack minions. And you know, I'm kind of being a little. Obviously, I'm being very tongue-in-cheek here because Rogue is still a very consistent and totally fine class. It's just that a lot of times I feel like it happens with the class where it's just like there's just a bunch of stalling.
Yeah.
Stalling that leads to pretty much nothing.
Yeah. Unless they can do that death by 1,000 cuts kind of victory, which we've seen many times as well, but it relies on being able to gain control of the board, and your opponent has to react by kind of doing the same things.
Is he looking for Inner Fire?
Power Word
Yes.
Feast.
He wants that Inner Fire so bad. He wants to go to
Fire
game
would end the
5.
game now.
Apotheosis?
Holy Smite.
Probably not gonna play that.
Inner Fire. Holy Smite again.
Okay, Holy Smite again. Uno Mas.
Inner Fire. Holy Smite again.
One more time. I actually wouldn't mind a Radiance here. Just to free up some hand space a little bit, because it's going to overdraw. Well, not overdraw, actually, it's at 9 cards. But I still like the Radiance.
Oh, so now you like the Radiance.
Yeah, because it doesn't heal my opponent for 3.
I wanted it to be more convoluted than that, though. Why isn't it healing my opponent? Why isn't it giving my minion +2/+2? This isn't the Radiance I signed up for. Okay, Arcane Breath does have a Twilight Drake in hand.
Right. They can find a
Contract?
sap.
Unidentified contract? Coerce!
Coerce.
Wait, that's sick.
Still doesn't deal with the entire board. Secret Passage into Secret Blackjack Stunner.
He needs exactly Secret Blackjack Stunner.
Blackjack Stunner. Shadow Step. Wait, Shadow Step?
Shadow Step?
No, but it's an expensive
Secret?
expensive
Vaporize?
secret.
Brain Freeze?
Okay, now bloodyface. At the end of this turn, Saiyan did one of the most elaborate plays we've seen in the entire game so far, and guess what he developed onto the board, TJ?
One attack minions.
This deck drives me nuts. It's so infuriating when I'm on the other side. I like playing it. I've actually been playing a lot of Galakron Rogue because I saw it hit top legend from a couple of players. I think Conley was the one who most notably tweeted it out. And so I was like, oh, Galakron Rogue. I kind of missed that deck, even though it was really oppressive for that period of time where everything costed 0. About a year ago now, or a little bit less than that. Kind of wild to think about. And still, I had the same situation where I was like, oh, geez. I just really don't know how I'm going to win. I'm just trying to not die. Which I think is just the 2020 theme. Renew. Renew can find silence, but it's not lethal anymore because it doesn't have mana. I get the feeling that bloodyface is just kind of pointing cards at things. Like, I totally get that there's like, he's just trying to remove things and develop onto the board, but like, he's just like, okay, like, is this good enough? And Saiyan just keeps regularly saying,
there,
nope.
point a card there, play a minion. Yeah. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, and like, he's doing a good job being systematic about it, but, alright, Saiyan needs to bounce, daring escape. Will it live up to the name? One Thief needs to find freeze.
Putting in some work, though. Tome of Intellect.
I never lie, but I never tell the truth.
Ooh, misdirection.
Misdirection.
Too soon.
No, I was looking for Noble Sacrifice. Just no secrets to help him. But he wants the mind games. Oh, there's the good one.
Yep.
And as long as Bloodyface attacks correctly, he should be going. We should be going to game number 5.
Because it could, misdirect could attack into his other minion, his other attacking minion.
No,
no, you're right. You're right.
First, yeah. He also is playing around
Saiyan's
freezing trap.
He's just like attacking correctly, please. Yeah, yeah. Jeej. Game 5.
Game number 5. Bloodyface able to take it, and now we have Bloodyface just has to win the mage versus the rogue, and we might see a reverse sweep on the rogue, TJ. Which brings us to the question, is rogue really the bring? Because that is the difference in their lineups.
I feel like it's got to be, right? We've seen rogue be so successful up until like this point. And rogue's still the deck with the highest win rate in Grandmasters, at least Secret Rogue. So, sometimes you just draw the poor end of your deck, right? I don't necessarily think Just Saying's been doing that, but these matchups, I said at the beginning of the matchup, they're so hard to call. Mage, Rogue, Priest. It feels like a lot of things that happen in these decks, they are like interchangeable almost. All 3 decks don't have like natural win conditions in the deck. They kind of fly by the seat of their pants and then find win conditions as they go along. That's all 3. So, some are just differently themed than others. Where the rogue is disguised as a secret deck. The mage is disguised as a tempo deck. It's not even a tempo deck. Let's even play tempo minion. And the priest is disguised as his control deck, which is the closest, I think, to like an accurate archetype description. Is control priest. But even then, like it's 6 an early game minion, he can win the game with just that 1 minion. So, we'll see. I think you said it to me first and really highlighted the similarities between mage and rogue. Except at a certain point in the game, mage isn't playing 1/1s anymore. They're not playing 1-attack minions anymore. They're playing 8/8s. They're destroying those 8/8s, which summons more 8/8s.
That's right.
And rogue's just playing fair cats.
All right, well, here we go. Bloodyface, Just Saying, game number 5. Winner of this stays a Grandmaster. If loser has to keep playing on to tomorrow. Opening draws are in, and Bloodyface has Violet Spellwing and Chenvala. Pretty reasonable, but he's off the coin, which is something that he doesn't want. And Just Saying once more has the Edwin Van Cleef in the opening hand.
Yep.
Pharaoh Cat
Not
lands.
as much support for it,
Grand Mummy. How do they keep doing it? TJ, it is baffling. Although, Saiyan had plays even without it, right? He could coin the Evil Miscreant. This is so much better.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, Bloodyface can just play the Chenvala. Sure.
Yeah. On an empty board, the Edwin Van Cleef questing adventure starts or not. Super powerful just because of the fact that, devolving missiles exists.
Very much so. And now that Chenvala did not work out, and Saiyan takes it a little bit slower, totally fine.
Ooh.
Okay.
Astromancer, Silberian.
Yeah, I guess at this point you can Ashman Slayer and ping. He knows that it is dirty tricks.
How much is this worth to you?
And Underbelly Fence into Van Cleef for tempo. Bloodyface is ready for it, but Saiyan's also prepared for that situation as well. So both players looks like they are well equipped for this kind of situation.
Bloodyface now well equipped for any situation. As long as he has 7 or more mana with Solarian Prime.
How much is this worth to you?
Yeah, it looks like Evil Miscreant. I was thinking maybe you could go like Questing Adventure there, because then you present like these two big threats that Bloodyface has to deal with a limited amount of mana, but I suppose with Evil Miscreant played, next turn you should theoretically be able to make that questing even larger.
You don't pick the one.
That is true.
Another
Oh my
evocation.
goodness.
Ooh.
Well, just needs the Archimist to hit one time. One time. And got it.
Nailed it.
When Arcane Missiles is just Arcane Explosion. Magic Trick last. Don't think there really is too much to consider with the order, so I think it's fine. Picks up a Combustion, and then now he has a bunch of AoE ready to prime. He's primed Solarian Prime.
What makes something real?
And plays the Jandis. Ooh.
Abomination makes an appearance once again.
Can evolve it. Actually, whatever you choose, you can just straight up use the Witchy Lackey on right now. Okay, so he chooses the Jandis.
And burn!
Marginally better.
Sure.
Caledon is pretty bad, though. And now, TJ. And
I think you just
now.
I think you just
is
lab
it
partner
actually
combustion, right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's actually lab partner combustion. You're right.
That just clears the board. Unless no, it doesn't quite clear the board if the abomination is the illusion.
Explode!
Then the Steward of Scrolls will be alive. Alright, well, we're clear. That's way better than Solarian Prime. Alright, now it's
Now
time to
Saiyan
pop
has to
off a
rebuild
little
his
bit here.
board.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? All these minions have one attack except Questing Adventure.
So play Questing Adventure. I told you, you start the turn with a minion that you play one attack things, and eventually it'll have be a 10/10, or you play a lot of one attack things, and then at the end of your turn you play a 10/10.
And Bloodyface has answers to this, but it is time! It is time to prime.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
good
wait.
start.
Oh, he missed.
And go again. Again.
It is time. It's time to prime. It's prime time, baby.
Canter's Blow, Apex Blast, Base, nope, Questing. Combustion,
Oh, no.
That's not good.
Oh no!
So overall, Bloodyface played the Solarian Prime. It played Learn Draconic, Vaporize,
Mummy needs
and
fire.
cleared the board. I think that for 7 mana, that's like a better Flame Strike. Imagine if Flame Strike red deal 2 more damage than a normal Flame Strike, play a Vaporize, and play a Learn Draconic. Imagine if Flame Strike said that. It'd be sick.
Sounds like you spoiled the upcoming expansion card.
Power creep. Eh.
Mage AoE, discover a side quest and a secret and put into play. Destroy
6
all-
damage to everything. But here's the kicker. It costs 1 more mana than a normal Flame Strike. Unplayable.
So not power creep. Magic trick?
So,
I
so
kind of want to
strictly
deep
better.
freeze here.
yeah, no, it's like just the most board you can create.
It's
I mean, he
lot
can
of
play a
board.
bunch of little stuff and then finish with a Mana Cyclone. That works too.
True, but you also summon 3/6s. And last time I checked, Rogue is not they need 6 minions to check one of your 3/6s.
Yeah, so they need 12 minions, which is impossible to have on the board at the same time to kill both of those. It's nearly impossible.
Yeah, I think part of it is that we see the hands, so we kind of know that Just Sayyan has nothing to do against that. So it's entirely reasonable to go for this. Frostbolt.
Time runs out on you.
And like you said, the Mana Cyclone at the very end. Well done. My bloodyface mapping it out.
Mummy needs 5
Saiyan still struggling here. The good news, you can activate this Vaporize for nothing.
Yeah.
Play Shadow Jewel Hanar. Well, there's no secret actually.
Yeah, there's no secret. This is a terrible hand.
Many options.
This hand does nothing.
Rogue, why are you so useless sometimes? It's just, it's just so it's so frustrating to watch it do a lot of nothing. Bloodyface has spent the past 2 turns reacting. Like, you know, in defense of the Rogue class, it actually has presented several threats, and Mage just has it checked because it generated a ton of cards and found a way in. Bloodyface chuckling. How do you hold 6 cards and do absolutely no, or 7 cards rather, and just play one of them for 0 mana? It's probably because he's got cards that need activations. Uh-oh. It's like slight DC, but we're back.
What to do? What to do?
What Mage Thanos?
Woo!
Oh yeah.
It's that kind of game, TJ. It is
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of game. To determine relegation spot, is there any other card more appropriate?
Bloodyface gives the acknowledgement nod. Like, yep, I got my win condition. That's Conjurer's calling the 6/6.
Oh yeah.
No? Yes? Please?
I'm finding a hard reason to not Conjurer's Calling here. Alright, I'm finding it difficult to not want to do it.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
seems
better.
way better.
Yeah.
Eh. Rogue sucks. I'm just gonna say it, TJ.
Yeah. It's funny because the deck either looks
doesn't
like
suck.
it looks like it's unbeatable or
Or
it just has hands
It's one or
that
the
do
other,
nothing.
right? Yeah.
Which is crazy
Totally.
because the deck does nothing 44% of the time and wins 56% of the time. That's it. And it wins more than any other deck.
Well, Saiyan's Control Rogue just kind of running into problems here. Bloodyface has a lot more ammo as well. He can go for another Conjurer's Calling. Yeah, I guess if you want to draw cards, you should draw first in case it changes the play. I like Conjurer's Calling and the Apexis Blast. Oh, no, actually, you don't want an Apexis Blast until you need to finish it out. So, just cram session first, see what we draw. Okay, Memorial Studies. Play like a big, beefy spell damage minion. Oh man, this is too much. And what a beating in this game. Rogue, all it had to do is win once in matchups where I think it does fairly decent at. and just whiffed.
I guess.
3 strikes and you're out. Bloodyface survives relegation, reverse sweeping Just Saiyan's Secret Rogue, and stays alive. Bloodyface had posted a tweet logger talking about some of his thoughts on the state of things, and also talking about how if he relegated, he was prepared for what would happen afterwards. But looks like he doesn't have to for one more season. But for Saiyan, he's got to keep playing.
Yep. Now Gidon's up next for him in that relegation bracket. And Saiyan kind of said the same thing. He was the first of the twit loggers. If we remember all the way back to like week 2. The first my thoughts on GM twit longer out of all of them. And he also said that, he was prioritizing other things in his life, which, some people get to that point. We've talked about it a lot throughout the course of the season, but it'd be kind of tough to go out like this because he looked quite good.